Many people in India think that the most difficult achievement for a youth in the country is to get into one of the Indian institutes of technology or a premier medical school or crack the Indian civil service examination. True, all three involve millions of applicants, strenuous examinations, and only a few hundred are chosen. But far, far more difficult than any of those is to get into the Indian cricket team. From a country of 1,300,000,000 people who form more than 1/7 of the whole world's population, only 11 can be taken into the Indian cricket team and take the field when India plays an international cricket match. And India's cupboard of cricketing talent is so full that even somebody of the caliber of Mahendra Singh Dhoni, who's accomplished as one of the world's better batsmen, skippers and wicketkeepers, cannot find a place in the present team. And yet, with all this talent, when India recently went to New Zealand on a tour, it lost all the one-day matches and both the tests that it played there. So what about that? It isn't just cricket where India is oozing in talent. From politics to academics to corporate life, India abounds in talent. Only somehow the talent doesn't seem to be tapped. Somehow India seems to associate age with merit and therefore finds it difficult to infuse meritorious fresh blood into its systems. Let's look at politics. Who in the Bharatiya Janata Party can look 92-year-old Lal Krishna Advani in the eye and tell him that he does not need to attend party meetings anymore and that he's done enough good service for the party and that the mantle has actually passed on? The Communist Party of India Marxist is perhaps worse off, considering that its Politburo is populated by senior citizens. Can someone visualize a 35-year-old in the Politburo who is there on merit? And if nobody in that age group is there, does it mean that India does not have a single meritorious youth with a left orientation and political competency? In Kerala, 96-year-old V.S. Achyutanandan is the chairman of the Administrative Reforms Committee. And the committee has spent 60 million rupees in its first 3 years and none of its recommendations has been implemented. Certainly this man has done great service to the state over so many years, but it is difficult to say what he's doing now is on merit. And the Congress, forget the young and meritorious, even the meritorious seniors cannot break into the territory ring-fenced by the Gandhi family. One meritorious Congress leader who comes to mind is Sheila Dikshit, a 3-time Chief Minister of Delhi. Don't forget, in Delhi's history, it was more than 800 years after Razia Sultana of the Delhi Sultanate ruled Delhi that a woman came to power in Delhi in the form of Sheila Dikshit. But in the end, she was left sidelined, humiliated and completely disillusioned with the Congress party. Look at India's academics and the story is almost the same. Knock and enter the room of a college principal across India and who do you expect to see there? Most likely somebody who's in the late 50s or early 60s or even older than that. Are we saying that as a nation we cannot find somebody who's much younger to take on a role, at least in this era of online educational technology, of massive open online courses, MOOCs, and Zoom classes and Zoom breakouts? Rarely does anybody make an exception, like the Christ University in Bangalore, which had a 27-year-old principal when it started its law school. But India was always not like this. Way back in the 1950s, when India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru had the first 5-year plan going, he got to co-author the first 5-year plan document a 26-year-old K.N. Raj. And what about government machinery? Things are almost the same. Can you imagine a 35-year-old chief secretary because he's so meritorious? Sorry, no, because government machinery is one where officers travel on a conveyor belt and will reach a certain position in X number of years, whether you're meritorious or not. So what happens to those who are disillusioned with the system? They go out. And what if you continue, and even if you're disgruntled, well, you could end up as an Indian Police Service officer, like in Kerala, running a Kerala State Road Transport Corporation. In fact, in recent years, 2 IPS officers have been heading this bus service, which is perennially loss-making. And many government officers don't even leave service ever. After retirement, they continue in some post like an ombudsman, which earns them even more. And can you believe that Kerala today has a police affairs advisor to the chief minister who joined IPS 47 years ago? What message does that give to the incumbent DGP that there must be somebody else to advise the government above him? I'm not suggesting for a minute that all the old should be replaced with the new, but just stating that merit must be ensured at every level. In fact, it's a function of good leadership to ensure that merit is a consideration at all levels. Best example, former ISRO chairman, Professor Satish Dhawan, who would take press conferences every time a launch failed. And whenever a launch was successful, he would give that press conference to young project engineers like APJ Abdul Kalam. To come back to sport, can we think of bringing in somebody from outside as India's cricket captain straight away, like South Africa did many years ago when it brought in Graeme Smith, who was only 22 years old and had played for the country for only a year? Or go even one more step ahead and think like New Zealand of bringing a Lee Germon as captain when he had not played ever in a test match for that country. Very unlikely, because we normally do not appreciate out-of-the-box thinking. Like now, when we're dealing with the coronavirus epidemic, our only solution is lockdown, lockdown, lockdown. No other viewpoint will be entertained. So it's quite likely that when we come out, we will not have the herd immunity, but we'll be stuck with our herd mentality. And what is the threat embedded in this? Frustrated but brilliant young minds of India will leave the country and lend their brains to other nations. We naively say that the Googles and the Apples and the Microsofts of the world run on Indian brains. They pack a stadium in Houston, Texas and shout Bharat Mata Ki Jai. But if you ask them why they don't work out of India, that same exuberance will be missing. In fact, if you randomly pick an Indian off the streets of the United States, he or she is 10,000 more times likely to be a PhD than if you pick an Indian on the streets of India. I'm reminded of a Hebrew word, ichabod, meaning where is the glory, or the glory has gone. If we can do one good thing post-COVID, it is to get off the conveyor belt of mediocrity and go for merit. Apparently, there are a lot of opportunities coming India's way given the antagonism against China. But mediocrity can be one thing that could be a barrier for us. We shouldn't be shouting mediocrity Mata Ki Jai, but a meritorious Bharat Mata Ki Jai. And where do we start? In our own fields, like deciding whether Dhoni or you fit the role better. Let's use our talent glut wisely. Thank you.